Between 2011 and 2016, employees at one of America's largest banks opened around 3.5 million accounts. Their customers never asked for a single one. The bank fired 5,300 people over it. Case File 02, Wells Fargo. Almost all of them worked at the bottom, the tellers and the bankers, not the executives who set the targets. And some of the people who were fired had done one specific thing. They had called the company's ethics line. Wells Fargo had a strategy. It was called cross-selling. The idea was simple. A customer with one checking account is worth a little. A customer with a checking account, a savings account, a credit card, online banking, and an overdraft line is worth far more. So Wells Fargo set out to sell every customer as many products as it could. The goal even had a number, 8 products per household. The chief executive, John Stumpf, liked to explain it. 8, he said, rhymed with great. On Wall Street, this number had a name, the cross-sell ratio. It was proof that Wells Fargo could grow without making risky loans. The bank reported it every quarter, and every quarter it went up. There was a reason it kept going up. Inside the branches, 8 products per household was not a slogan. It was a daily quota. Bankers were given sales targets to hit every single day. Managers tracked them by the hour. There were morning check-ins, evening check-ins, and constant pressure to push the number higher. Miss your target and you were coached. Miss it again and you were written up. Miss it again and you were gone. So some employees found another way to hit the number. They opened accounts their customers had never asked for. They used a few standard tricks. One was called pinning. A banker would issue a customer a debit card, secretly set the PIN, and activate it. The customer was never told. Another was opening a savings account funded with the customer's own money. Quietly moved over, a few dollars at a time. They enrolled people in online banking they would never use. They opened credit cards in customers' names without consent. Many of these accounts were opened and then closed within days. Open long enough to count toward a target. Closed fast enough that with luck, no one would notice. But customers did notice. They saw fees on accounts they never opened, cards they never ordered, and calls from collections for money they never borrowed. Plenty of employees hated doing this. And Wells Fargo had told them exactly what to do if they saw something wrong. The bank had a code of ethics. It had an ethics line, a phone number for reporting misconduct, so some of them called it. What happened next is the part that matters. According to those employees, and later to members of Congress, the people who called the ethics line were often fired. Not for the fraud, the bank would find another reason. Showing up a few minutes late, a small mistake on paper, something that looked ordinary, and when a banker was fired, Wells Fargo filed a document called a U-5. It is a permanent industry record that follows you to every other bank. Some of those records were marked in ways that made the employee almost impossible to hire again. So the system had a quiet logic to it. The people committing the fraud were hitting their targets. The people reporting the fraud were being managed out. The ethics line was supposed to be the safety valve. In practice, calling it was the dangerous thing to do. The first real public account came in December 2013. The Los Angeles Times published an investigation into Wells Fargo's sales culture, the pressure, the quotas. Employees gaming the system just to keep their jobs. Wells Fargo's response was to point to the employees it had already fired. Then, on September 8, 2016, the regulators arrived. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and the City of Los Angeles announced a joint settlement, $185 million. The order laid out what they had found. Wells Fargo employees had opened around 1.5 million unauthorized deposit accounts and more than 500,000 credit card accounts, all without customer consent. The bank had already fired 5,300 employees connected to the practice. The total fees charged to customers on those accounts came to about $2.5 million. The refunds averaged $25 per person. A year later, Wells Fargo looked harder. It reviewed every retail account opened since 2009. more than 160 million of them. The new estimate of potentially unauthorized accounts was not 2 million. It was 3.5 million. On September 20, 2016, John Stumpf sat down in front of the Senate Banking Committee. Senator Elizabeth Warren did not really ask him questions. She made a statement. "You should resign," she told him. She called his leadership gutless. And she pointed out that he had fired 5,300 low-level workers and not one senior executive. The executive who had run the community bank, where all of this happened, was named Carrie Tolstead. She had retired a few months earlier. Her exit package was worth around $124 million. Under pressure, the board clawed some of it back. About 19 million from Tolstead. About 41 million from Stumpf. Stumpf resigned that October. The penalties kept coming. In 2018, the Federal Reserve did something rare. It capped the bank's size. Wells Fargo was forbidden from growing past its end-of-year assets, around $1.95 trillion, until it fixed its controls. That cap stayed in place for 7 years. In 2020, Wells Fargo agreed to pay $3 billion to the Department of Justice and the SEC. Part of it was for misleading investors about the very cross-sell number the bank had been so proud of. And Carrie Tolstead, in 2023, she accepted a $17 million fine and a lifetime ban from banking. She pleaded guilty to obstructing a federal examination. She was the only senior executive criminally charged. She did not go to prison. Wells Fargo built a machine to sell. It set a goal that was almost impossible to hit honestly. Then it punished the people who missed it. And it punished the people who reported the people who cheated. The fraud was not a glitch in the system. The fraud was the system, working exactly the way its incentives told it to. That is the lesson. An incentive is a control. It quietly rewards one kind of behavior and punishes the rest. Wells Fargo spent years rewarding a number, and it got exactly the behavior it paid for. This was case file 2. This was court.